How's it going, everybody? Welcome to 2021 and welcome to the return of Buddy's House of Horror podcast. I'm going to be doing another unscripted intro for you guys, just going to speak from the heart, speak from the soul. 2020 is done. I decided to take the rest of the year off after October. 31 videos in 31 days really takes it out of you, and November and December were incredibly busy for me. Some really high highs, some really low lows, and just a ton of things going on the past few months, so I decided to take a couple months off of the podcast. I still had two Nerds of podcasts going on, so you guys can go and check out those episodes if you wish. But as far as the House of Horror, I decided to take the rest of the year off, but it's January, it's a brand new year, and I'm bringing the show back. I want to have at least a couple episodes coming out every single month for you guys, whether they be podcasts, videos on my YouTube channel, just something going on every month for the House of Horror. I don't want to restrict it solely to October. I want to keep it going year round. Of course, October is going to be the big month for the House of Horror. A ton of things coming out in October. But I want to keep things going throughout the year, keep you guys entertained. And it's going to start with this. So we're going to be doing another episode of Underrated Films with me and Midnight Miles, the Midnight Mandroid. We're going to be talking about a few films. These were both his choice to do this week. We're going to be talking about Victor Crowley and The Sacrament. Had a ton of fun watching these films with Miles. And this is an episode you guys are going to want to watch all the way through, because there's a very special surprise about halfway through the episode. A very special surprise for you guys at about the midway point of this episode. So you guys definitely don't want to miss that. I've been babbling long enough, and we're just going to get right to the episode, you guys. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to my show on YouTube. Of course, all of my videos come out on my YouTube channel as well as the podcast. And if you're solely listening to the audio version of these things, make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you guys get your podcasts. It really helps me out a lot. If you are given the option to leave a rating or a review on your respective podcast site, make sure you guys go ahead and do that. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the show, spread the word about the House of Horror. I'm really trying to make this a big special thing, so I want you guys to do the best you can, help me out, get some viewers on these episodes, and help spread the love of horror, because that's what this is all about, just spreading the good word of horror, and entertaining you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoy the show. So as I said, we're just going to get right to the episode this week, you guys, so enjoy this episode of Underrated Films with Buddy the Bruiser and Midnight Miles. Alright, everybody, welcome back to the show of our ongoing series where we're going to be watching some underrated films. This is the mystery episode? Is that what's going on? Well, I mean, the people watching it, they're gonna know what we're watching, but I have no idea what we're watching.
I thought I'd throw a little bit of a surprise. You know, Buddy doesn't even know what we're watching, and it's funny because I'm about to pull it out. I actually have the film hidden in my cooler that's sitting right next to me. So I made sure that I kept this a surprise.
Nice and cold for us.
Nice. It's what if the Blu-ray is right just frozen? It doesn't even work. That would be, just pull it out. It's like Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
But yeah, I decided, we talked the other day about some films, and then you had snuck something in, a comment, and I said, well,
I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay.
He was probably.
I snuck in a comment, and
he hasn't seen it. See, I very much pay attention to detail.
So I know, you were telling me.
I'm a very detail-oriented man, so I said, my brain started, going, and I said, well, we're gonna do this next podcast this next week, and I want to do two of my underrated films. So this one is kinda, I'd say it's underrated with horror fans, where this like film and other films that are with this, people kind of roll their eyes a little bit. I think also because the fan base is kind of a little rabid about this. Just like they're kind of rabid about, let's say, Rob Zombie or like the Saw films and stuff. I feel like people started rolling their eyes, like some like older horror fans, some right. stuff in the 2000s about like, oh, there's so-and-so that loves Rob Zombie films and things like that. I know a lot of horror fans don't realize this, but if you talk to like older horror fans about certain things like that, they're like, oh yeah, those people just like Rob Zombie films, or that they just like Eli Roth films, or things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
they
it's
don't
a fucking mark for Rob Zombie.
basically. There we go.
Yeah.
Wrestling terminology.
Yeah.
There we go. But it's a good film. I think this is underrated. I got to see this with the director at the screening.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you're a mark for this.
I'm a mark. He was. It was good. But I'm gonna open up the cooler now.
I'm in such suspense right now.
And we're gonna do.
Oh my god.
Victor Crowley, aka Hatchet 4.
Oh my god.
And you don't have to. The best part of this, because you said you saw the first 2 Hatchets.
So this was literally yesterday was when you came up with this, because we had this conversation yesterday. How I saw the first 2 Hatchet films.
This was actually 2 days ago.
This was 2 days ago? Oh,
because
sorry.
I watched Hatchet 3, and you were commenting because it was on my story about how insane it is. And it's.
But I thought the conversation happened yesterday, or was the conversation 2 days ago?
You know what? I don't know.
Because you watched it.
All a blur. It's all a blur. It's all a blur, man. But I haven't watched this since I bought the Blu-ray. I actually got this like semi recently because I actually bought this not knowing for this film series. I was looking for other films, and I saw they had this on Blu-ray for like a decent price, and I was like, oh, I need that.
Yeah.
So
here it is.
By luck of the draw, it became part of the underrated film series. I haven't heard almost anyone talk about this sequel, and it is absolutely hilarious. And the character that survives from the first film, actually, I think if I remember right, I want to say this once, reprises his role from the first film. Okay. So you didn't have to see Hatchet 3 at all to watch this. So I also realized, I'm like, oh, this is perfect.
So question. So I'm seeing on the cover here, it says return to his swamp. So in the third one, are they not in the bayou anymore?
No, they're still in the bayou. Don't even look at the fucking tagline. I don't AKA, he's always in his fucking swamp killing. I mean, he's ready to kill. Look at the back. I mean...
Yeah. So, yeah, I saw the first 2 Hatchet films in 2011, I want to say. It was like right after the second one had released. The first one's like a little older.
The first one came out in 2000. I think it does say 2007, and I think that's right.
Yeah. But the second one definitely came out 2011 because that's when I saw both of them.
Okay, well, funny story about the second one. The second one was released. Are you sure it was 2011?
It was close to that.
No, you're right. I was in college.
2010. So then I saw it in 2011.
Okay.
Because I didn't see it in. I don't know if it went to theaters, but I saw
that's
it.
That's where my story is going to
start. Okay, all right. Well, let's go.
Hatchet 2, because Hatchet 1 did so well on home video. I mean, I guess it sold a shit ton of copies. Like, literally made a ton of money on video. Probably around the time, because Walmart and a lot of these places, Anchor Bay was getting really big in the... Because Anchor Bay put out the first Hatchet film. Anchor Bay was pumping DVDs out. It's a big box store. They were actually doing really well. They just on marketing alone, Hatchet 1 sold a fuck ton of DVDs. I mean, I guess it made a ton of money. So Hatchet 2 was going to be the first unrated film in a wide release theaters in, I think it was 25 years.
Really?
So it was a big deal. The MPAA was going to let it... Everything was going to get... Everything was, whatever. So they go to put it in... AMC was going to do it. I was going to drive... This was when I think right when I had gotten to college. I was going to drive to the theater in Pittsburgh. The AMC was like more towards downtown. And go see it. I couldn't see it until Saturday or Sunday. They did preview showings on Thursday.
Right, yeah.
By Saturday afternoon, they ripped it out of every theater almost in America.
That's crazy.
Because it was so gory and violent, and I don't know how, but for some reason, I don't think any of the major chain owners or anything watched the film before they agreed to put it into the theaters. It's kind of like a random anomaly of I still remember I was went to buy my ticket, and it was just erased from the face of the planet, and it did. didn't do millions the preview night, but it did six figures, and it made, I don't know what it. I think in 48 hours it made over $1 million, which doesn't sound like much now.
So did they just pull it from like the complaints or?
Yeah, because some people I think went to see it not really knowing what it was.
Yeah.
And it's pretty.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're the average theater goer, and you want to see a horror movie. Mind you, okay, so 2011, things like that. Paranormal Activity was getting big, and so you're like, oh, I'm gonna go see Hatchet because I'm trying to get into horror film. Maybe you drop your 15-year-old off there, or you go to take them to it.
Yeah.
And the first thing you see is somebody getting cut in half completely.
Yeah.
It's probably a big culture shock, and probably, shit like that. I was very disappointed I didn't get to see Hatchet 2 in theaters. I was so bummed. I was pretty pissed. But I've always been a big fan of the series. He took a long break, Adam Green did, in between. He actually didn't direct 3. He wrote and edited 3, but he didn't direct it. His friend directed it. But he took a long break, worked on some other stuff, and then decided to do Hatchet 4, which was Victor Crowley. And he actually took it on like an old road tour. Like he went city to city, premiering it in theaters all across America, and then spoke afterwards and stuff like that.
And that's what you were at?
That's what I was at. I bought tickets to it, and then I decided to wait in line to meet him afterwards. I don't know why I did. Well, because there were so many people, and I'm pretty sure I waited half asleep. I drank coffee. I went and watched this movie sober, by the way, which a Hatchet film is usually not something. It definitely, the more substances in your body, the better a Hatchet film is. Just being honest, Adam Green, if you're listening to this, this is true too.
Yeah.
But I just drank coffee that night, and I went to watch this. I waited in line to meet him. I was almost like a zombie. I didn't realize how much time had passed. I was in line for an hour waiting to meet him, and this is a weeknight, like a Wednesday night. And I had to work, and I get up to meet him, and he's like, still kind of stoked. He's like, hey, what's up, man? And we're talking, because he actually was having conversations with everyone.
Yeah.
There's also why he was having minutes of conversations, trying to be nice, interact with everyone.
Yeah.
And I remember getting up there, and I think I maybe wanted to say something about a film or ask about something, and I just was like, he's like, being nice, and I just turned, said I thought the film was great. I took a picture with him like this, half asleep, and I walked right out of the fucking theater. I said, I just was
classic.
It was just, dude, it was like 11 something at night. I had worked all day. I was just like, what did I even, it was like a blur, like the whole thing. But he really loves film. He seems like because he actually spoke before the film too. Like he seemed like a genuinely like really cool dude. So
yeah,
I'm really excited to watch this a second time because I haven't seen it since that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You're ready for some. We haven't watched anything that's been.
We haven't watched anything
cool.
like yeah.
Well, no, we watched Undead's pretty fucking gory.
Yeah.
We were laughing at that, but this isn't so much a horror comedy. You're gonna laugh at it, but it's not a horror comedy. The kills are comedic, but and you haven't seen this, so I'm excited.
No, I haven't seen it. No,
hopefully you get a few buddy chuckles out of this.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Yeah, so we're about to pop this in and watch it here. So yeah, if you guys wanted to watch it along with us, this will be your chance coming up.
Probably, I would say Amazon Prime or some of these places probably have.
Yeah, you could probably stream it right now. Yeah, somewhere. If not, yeah, Amazon's always the place to get stuff. If you don't shop online, I don't know, where'd you get yours? I know you don't shop online. Where'd you find that? He's pondering.
A couple video stores that day. This might have been the Exchange. I don't know if this was FYE or not. It was either like FYE or the Exchange.
Okay, yeah, so you can get it used somewhere even. Yeah. So
I mean, some places still have it new. I mean, I don't know. You might be able. I'm not a Walmart guy, as no one knows tonight, but I remember this was in Walmart, I think, when I went with someone randomly. So you might. You know what you can find in the bargain bins. I'm a bargain bin guy. You might be able to find this for $7.50 or something. I don't remember what I paid for it, but probably around the $10 range. You can get yourself a copy of Victor Crowley.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just gonna pop this in. If you guys haven't already, because we didn't say this at the beginning, if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the show, leave us a rating, and all that kind of stuff. You can do that during the break, which is happening right now.
Let's get to it.
All right, well, welcome back, everyone. Hope you checked it out along with us because that was a fucking blast.
Right? Yeah. See, that's what you needed. Just some wild gore, you know?
Yeah.
So what did you think? I'll let you go first since you haven't seen it.
I thought it was a ton of fun, man. Humor was good throughout. Again, lots of good kills. Kane Hodder was looking in shape. He definitely was showing some age, but he was still pretty built. I don't know what else, I don't really know what to say. I mean, we'll get into the plot and stuff, but just overall general thoughts and everything. I thought it was a good time.
It's exactly what you like. I don't understand people that don't like slashers or really gory slashers because they are just so over the top that I just can't understand not enjoying them. You have a bad day, or you have or maybe you're lost in your thoughts or something, or I don't know. I get that way probably too much at times, and I'm like, man, I need something to just turn the whole day around. Let me watch someone just do hilarious things to someone, like punching someone's head off, cutting someone's head off, ripping somebody's arms off. I mean, stuff that's just otherworldly. That's the shit I'm trying to see in film.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a good time. It's definitely not one that takes itself very seriously at all.
That's what we need, especially in 2020. I need just something that's refreshingly insane.
Yeah. So Victor Crowley, this is the fourth in the franchise, as we mentioned. So I said that I had seen the first two. I didn't see the third one. You rewatched the third one
just the
fairly
other night,
recently.
Just a few nights ago, yeah.
But I will say, if you haven't seen the other ones, this one does, a good job, at the beginning, setting up, the basic general idea of it. So, really, because, I barely remember the plot of the first two.
Right.
I just remember, I mean, it's in the swamp and the guy's killing people or whatever. I don't remember plot points. You don't really need to see the other ones to enjoy this one, which is probably why they called it Victor Crowley instead of calling it Hatchet 4 or whatever to try to bring in some new people. But yeah, saw some familiar faces in there. There's some recurring characters. There's Q from Impractical Jokers is in there.
Right.
Couple others.
I said the publicist is actually Angela from Sleepaway Camp. The little girl in that. This is her as an adult.
Yeah.
And she plays the Andrew Young character, his publicist. And then there was also, I had mentioned to you, someone's more modern, quote unquote, scream queen, Tiffany. Was it Shepis? I don't know. If I fucked the last name up, I'm sorry. But some notable, I'd say, horror actors.
Yeah.
Adam Green he always makes a cameo in all the films. He made his cameo as one of the pilots. But yeah, I mean, the cast was a good ensemble cast for what they had to work with. They know, they took it. It's funny. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but the cast put in enough where they were oh yeah, I'm still working on a film. It wasn't just complete shit teen dialogue the whole time.
Right. The only one that's completely over the top is the what's his name, the fucking tour guide or whatever.
The tour guide.
But that's his character is to be ridiculous, but
it added the needed humor or a needed crutch in some scenes for sure, you know.
Yeah. So basically, there's a lot of parallels in this between, and you had mentioned before, we watched the film, you mentioned Rob Zombie a couple times. There's definitely some Halloween 2, Rob Zombie vibes in this. I mean, he's, the character of Andrew Young, he survived all the events of the other Hatchet films, obviously, and he writes a book about it, which is similar in H2, where, what's his name, Loomis writes the book or whatever, and everyone sees him as an asshole. So it's similar to that. He's going on like these talk shows. His ex-wife hosts the talk show. She's like grilling him and stuff, and basically everyone thinks that he murdered the people.
Somehow murdered 40 people. That's the whole tongue-in-cheek of the whole thing. One dude murdering 40 people, and he only had DNA on 2 of them. And he's the most average Joe, just an average guy. I mean, doesn't seem to be some maniacal genius or anything like that. I mean, but that's the whole thing. It's just like the guy just has a complete shit life after everything that's happened to him. But he gets offered, part of the plot, his publicist, who, whatever, we'll throw a little spoiler in, hopefully you watched it with us, but publicist lies to him about an insane amount of money to go out there and to go back and be filmed at the swamp again, and his reaction, tell the story. Probably because she was getting a very good amount of money. They never say that, but that seems to be what's actually going on. And so they get on a plane, the studio's private plane. Plane has a little bit of an engine issue before they get out there. They say that, and they say they fixed it or whatever, and then they leave. Well, the main, part of the plot, they crash land in Victor Crowley's swamp. So, as you can tell, the Andrew Young character is right back at it again. And there's also an inspiring film crew. Yeah,
so that's part of what we didn't mention. So, like, there's a film crew. It's like a boyfriend and girlfriend and, like, their other friend. They go to, like, Andrew Young's, like, book signing or whatever to, like, try to get him to act in their slasher film concept trailer. It's not, like, a full feature. She's, like, doing, like, a pitch or whatever. So, like, they go to his book signing, which is a great scene, by the way. There's
titties in it.
And a dick.
There's a really small dick in it. There's definitely, I feel like that's the definition of a chode, right?
Yes, that is.
A chode dick. Both of his testicles were bigger than his cock, individually. Yeah. And then his testicles underneath were huge compared to his dick.
Yeah. So yeah, great scene.
Kudos to that man for just throwing that thing couldn't have been much more than an inch long. I mean, I feel a little bad for him, but it's all right. I think my dick just shrunk a little thinking about how everybody... Because there really wasn't a whole lot going on there. I mean, hey, if you got a dick that size, I guess, who cares if someone sees it,
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that was a real dick, too.
I would hope so,
I'm thinking that was a real dick.
Hey, if the girl was showing her real tits, I mean, the guy can show his real dick.
I think that was the whole thing. Keep it equal. A lot of people say there's not enough dick in film. Well, if you want some dick in a film...
Victor Crowley.
There you go.
Yeah. So they're going down to the bayou as well, like separately to shoot this film, where they meet up with this tour guide guy, who wants to be an actor. He's like an aspiring actor, and he shows them the ropes and everything, and then they witness the plane crash, like they hear it or whatever. So that's how the two groups kind of come together. And I guess spoiler alert for this, because I was sort of shocked when this happened. Because they were building up the girl filmmaker as, like, the main, like, actress of the film, but then she gets the hatchet pretty early on, we'll say.
She doesn't, I think she might make it to, like, the 40-minute mark, maybe. I think she might almost make it to that. Only because she gets her, spoiler, face busted through a window, but not enough to kill her, and then... We won't spoil her actual kill, but she doesn't have it so lucky about 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
But yeah, good little twist there. Her character really, overall, does not matter at all, essentially, for the film.
Yeah. Trying to think of what else to say without giving, like, a bunch away. I will say, I mentioned that, like, the humor is, like, solid throughout the entire thing. It's funny the whole time. I don't know, there's just, like, some, like, nitpicky stuff, and, like, it's not, like, a bad thing, but, like, you're watching it, and, like, there's, like, so many just decisions that the characters, like, could have made that they just didn't, but that just sort of, like, adds to, like, the absurdity of it. But yeah, like, without getting into spoilers or anything, but, like,
they could have done a lot of things
differently.
They could have done something towards a certain character a lot differently.
Yeah.
Or attempted to try a little harder. especially once this character had a motive to keep them alive.
Right.
It's kind of just like,
There's a lot of standing around.
a lot of standing and pointing fingers, not really doing a whole lot. A lot of thumbs and asses. Oh, well. Side note, don't ever have a museum of a serial killer or a tour of a serial killer where you leave all of his weapons out. So if his ghost or undead body comes back, he has all of his weapons just readily available to kill again.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah.
Great special effects, though.
Great effects,
all 4 of these films, practical effects. Obviously, some of it they're going for insanity of gore and what they can do. Not everyone has a bunch of realism to them. There's definitely some that has some crazy looking realism, but I give it up to the effects crew because they really, you can tell they bust their asses to make everything under the sun. Body parts, heads, full, blood tubing into like cadavers and the whole. So much time goes into prepping the effects for these films. That's why I think I love them so much too.
Yeah. The film was just like a ton of fun. And I would hope it was fun to make it as well. I don't know. Yeah, it was just, in general, it was just like a really good time. Like, it's not one of those like so gory, like, oh, I can hardly watch. Like, it's like fun the whole time. There's nothing about it that's like shit your pants scary or anything. Like, it's all just
you see
good,
it coming.
good vibes.
Why they almost make suspense. Like, you heard me laugh in advance a couple times because I was remembering the film as it was being played, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for this scene when they do this, or I can't wait for this scene when they do this. I will say, watching Hatchet 3 a few days before, Hatchet 3 is a better film, but Victor Crowley and Hatchet 3 are very different films. Victor Crowley is much more, I think, a return to form towards the first one, where it is, despite it being a lot of comic relief, it's still, him himself is played very straightforward. It's like a menacing horror villain, which he is in the other films, but 3 is definitely a lot more, I don't want to say it's action horror, but a little bit, because there's like 3 or 4 groups of teams in 3. Okay. There's a lot of characters. The body count is very high. There'll be times where 5 or 6 people die within a minute. It's all shown, he definitely, as we were talking about a little bit about Hatchet before the break when we watched it, Hatchet 2, I'm very surprised that he was able to get the budget he had for Hatchet 3 because he's lucky location probably budget on all these was very simple because all the money went into securing certain actors and actresses and effects.
Right.
They look good, I think, for what they are. The
lighting, for sure, yeah.
For considering, honestly, all 4 of these, besides, I think maybe 3 had the most interior shots because they shoot in a police station, a couple of houses, things like that.
Oh, really?
But a lot of this is dark at night.
Either outside or in the plane,
In the plane in this one, the plane's like, the plane's almost its own character in this. Excuse me. And I also said that he said they actually bought a dismantled plane.
Right.
It wasn't just one of those things where once you look inside the plane, the outside walls and everything were like, it was just windows. It wasn't like they actually used
an old plane
to actually make the film, and it was actually, I think he said on top of some kind of water tank, so the water rushing in, everything.
Yeah, so it's like on some sort of rig where it's like,
he tried to keep everything as quote-unquote real as possible, and even with the practical effects, so he was getting kind of like the right dynamic from the actors and actresses. So.
Right. So out of all of them, which one is like the goriest, and then which one's like the best, do you think?
Right in the
because it's been so long since I saw the first 2. But yeah, and I watched them back to back, so like they kind of like bleed together.
They
for
do,
me.
yeah. I will say, and I actually watched 2 a couple months ago. I fell asleep towards the end of it, but I would keep randomly waking up at the goriest kills.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, I don't know, I got a good kick out of that the next morning. As you all know, I mean, all of them are, compared to the average slasher, the average horror film, all 4 of them are insanely gory. Even this one, I was like, after watching 3, I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty gory. But when I really think about it, compared to a lot of other films,
Right.
it's pretty fucking gory. I mean, if we're just talking about, I would say watching 3 and the sheer insanity that happens in 3, the amount of kills, 3 might be the goriest.
Mm-hmm.
2 has a couple just. 2 has a few balls to the walls kills. It's hard. I would probably say 1 and 3 are the best films, and it's probably a toss-up because they're very, just like most sequels, they start to go in different ways, and I appreciate them for what they are. 1 has humor, but it's still very much a very straightforward horror film. I guess. And it's not, I really don't, they try to keep things tonally in these. This one has quite a bit of tongue-in-cheek, but some of these other ones have tonally, it's a horror film.
Yeah.
They'll add humor when needed, but it's not straight slapstick all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even that intro into this one, where it kind of gives an introduction into the Victor Crowley character, it's very straightforward. You know, a girl kind of sang it by a candlelight. It was very traditional horror backstory. But I think 1 and 3. I think 1 and 3 are probably my favorites. I haven't watched 1 in a really long time. It's actually the only one I don't own on video because the Blu-rays become somewhat hard to find. I'm gonna get it on video. You gotta complete.
Yeah, you gotta get the whole set.
But I would say it's definitely a toss between 1 and 3 as being the best. 3's the goriest. It's hard to say that because 2's so fucking.
Yeah.
1 has my favorite kill in the series though. I guess I'd have to really watch all of them again, but 1 has an infamous scene where they do a shot where the camera continues to wrap around and like go all the way around the kill. Probably don't remember it, but there's a couple. There's an old lady and man and woman couple. They're doing the swamp tour, and they're running to get away from him. And Victor Crowley runs up, and I want to say it's the woman's face, but I could be wrong. It's been a while for me for the first one. The longest I haven't seen the first one. And they grab the face like this and start to pull, and you see from the jaw, from both the mandible and the maxillary jaw, upper and lower, start to open wide, like opening the mouth wide. Camera pans around, and it's ripping the mouth open in half, and blood shooting out and everything. And they continue to rip the whole skull apart.
Right.
And they do that pretty close up, and that's still... There's some... I want to watch 3 again, honestly, because the kills...
You just watched it.
There's another kill in that where he goes up behind a guy and just rips his skin completely off his body like this, and blood's just flying.
Yeah.
It just...
Yeah.
Very inventive kills. I recommend the whole series. I think the first one is the longest. I think
because that one was pretty short. That was only 80 minutes.
80 minutes with the credits, roughly. 2 is like... I want to say that you could watch all of these back to back in probably 6 hours, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah,
maybe even a little less, because I do think 1 is the longest. One's a little bit longer, because there's really a good beginning, like story, you know.
Right.
And 1 has a good backstory, and the guy that's the lead in Hatchet went on to act in Avatar a few years after that.
Yeah, well, he was in
Frozen. He was in Spiral, the one that he did after that too. He was in both of Adam Green's first 2 films.
Or you're talking because he was
Joel.
Yeah, because he was in
Mitchell
Dodgeball
Oh, that's
with
right.
like Vince Vaughn, and then he was in Hatchet, and then he went on to do some. Yeah, he was in Avatar.
Yeah, he was.
And he's gonna be in Avatar. He's gonna be in like all the Avatars too,
which is hilarious.
That's so funny. Yeah,
I think he only does a couple films a year.
Yeah,
'cause I've seen him on Instagram before. I think he just acts a couple times a year and hangs out, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're in the highest grossing film of all time at a certain period,
Well,
I mean,
it's
you can do
one of
that.
those actors. I think he did a lot, not a lot, but a handful of films every year for like 5 or 6 years. I guess if you don't spend think about it, if you don't spend any of your money.
Yeah, you just
you make
hang
let's
out,
say you make a couple $1 million.
Yeah.
If you're smart, do you really have to do anything for 10,
like
15
shit,
years?
Yeah, like shit. Like I don't want to work. Like whatever. Just fucking chill out. But yeah. Also, as I said, like you don't really need to see the other ones to enjoy this one because I mean it's been so long since I saw the first 2 and I don't really remember anything. So yeah, it works as a standalone piece. But yeah, if you want to marathon the whole thing, go ahead because I do recommend the first ones from what I remember. So
they're very fun. I think that I know that I remember talking to some people at the Hatchet films and they get,
Yeah.
But they're good. They're really fun. They're probably, honestly, some of my favorite modern films to go to for a good time. Because there's no way you're not going to have a good time. I don't know, something's wrong with you, I think. If you don't have a good time watching one of these Hatchet films, they're just too over the top, too fun.
Yeah. I had forgotten that the Andrew Young character or whatever, like I had forgotten the actor who like played him because like I don't remember the first 2. But he's in General Hospital, which is my mom's favorite show.
Oh,
like
yeah?
he's an actual character on it that's on it every week for like the past. I think he's been on because I looked it up during the movie. He's been on the show for like the past 10 years or something every week. So I was like, oh my god.
Dude, a lot of these people go on to just like people forget like how many things are shooting at the same time.
Yeah.
You can have a great career in quote unquote in Hollywood just shooting, just doing anything random.
Yeah.
TV, B movies for your entire career, I mean stuff like that, But I don't know where I was going with that. It's getting late. We were we're burning the candle here, trying to get this underrated series done, and we still have another film to do.
We do have another film to do, so why don't you set up this next one for us?
Mazer! Laser!
What?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up? I didn't see you outside.
I thought you just answered the door. I thought that was the segue that you guys did for me.
I did answer the door, but I didn't see you pull up, Cap. But it's good to see you. It's been a while,
It has been a couple of weeks, like a month.
Yeah.
Almost a month since last time I saw you.
Yeah, something like that. So.
But then at that time was like the first time I saw you in like
most of COVID.
Although
the whole pandemic era,
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful waterfall. So, all right, so we're about to watch the Sacrament. Another one of Miles's underrated films by his favorite filmmaker Ty West.
He's good. He's good.
He's good. He's way better than John Carpenter.
Yeah.
That's what Miles
he's
said.
With the elite,
straight up. Miles has said this.
You better edit that shit out. But
all right.
Anyways, I really liked this film when it came out. Let's look to see what year it did because it was definitely one of my favorites year it came out. Was it 2013?
Okay.
So I was kind of like toward the end of the the modern found footage boom, that started with obviously Paranormal and kind of was like that whole 6 or 7 years there. I don't know.
When did the last Paranormal Activity movie?
I think
Ghost Dimension? It was around that time, yeah.
What a terrible fucking movie.
Ghost Dimension's so bad.
Like one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
And nothing happens until like talk about
20
when nothing happens.
2015.
Okay, I was right. Yeah, they stretched Paranormal. They stretched that series out.
Yeah,
like,
07.
Well, yeah, because what? Paranormal Ghost Dimension, what was before that?
Was it Marked One? No.
Marked Ones was like a spin-off, so I'm not even really
I think
counting
Marked
that.
One was before that.
It was before that. But
Well, I know.
Then Paranormal
Yeah, I know
Activity
that.
4 was like
I think
in 2011,
I
2012.
No, I think 4 came out before Marked Ones. And Marked Ones came out like 5 months after.
Yeah, it was very
that.
close. Because I
I
think that
swear
one
to God, Mark Ones came out before 4.
it didn't.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it came out like it came out in like January the following year.
Yeah, it was like a really weird release. Like it wasn't their October release or whatever. No, because I loved 3 and then I watched 4. I didn't see 4 in theaters.
4 is dog
it
shit.
was so fucking bad.
Movie sucks.
And those like 2 million witches at the end. They like where they're just
Yeah.
out in the field. They just like walking out into a field and there's just 2 million witches and the film ends or whatever.
Oh my God, movie's ass.
Yeah. But anyway, so we're about to watch The Sacrament, so we're gonna pop it in and watch it right
See
now.
what everyone
Yep, right in
thinks.
the VCR.
Hey, they might have a release for it.
Some VCR World probably put one
Oh,
out.
for sure.
Probably,
Yeah.
All right, so we just watched The fucking Sacrament, you guys. Fucking,
We're back.
they're playing Among Us over there. So if you hear any giggling in the background, it's the wife couch
It's
over
the
there.
imposter.
Yeah.
Well, what now that we've gotten through it, because I'm the only one that's seen this before, right?
No, this is my first time.
Okay, so yeah,
Your
all
first, Jared. Have you seen this? This is your first time as well.
I think that it was very obvious by the way that I was reacting to the film that it was my first time.
Yeah.
So I'll let you guys go first since I've seen it. What'd you guys think?
I can't believe Buddy watched this before he's seen RoboCop. And
Wait, he hasn't seen RoboCop?
I've never seen RoboCop.
you didn't listen to our
No, I listened.
He's got so many episodes to catch up
I
on.
swear
but
to God,
listened-
he told me that he listened to the
I listened
episode.
to almost the entire episode. I didn't listen to like the last 10 minutes because I got
The last 10 minutes where Buddy made the shocking revelation that he's
Yeah.
never seen RoboCop.
I think that you told me what it was already or something.
So it's been a secret, and if Miles had known this, he would have said, "Hey, buddy, instead of The Sacrament, you need to watch RoboCop, and we need to discuss it on the podcast."
RoboCop wouldn't be underrated though.
No, it wouldn't be classified.
It's underrated by people that I know. It seems. Dan gave it like 2.5 on Letterboxd. This is literally the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life.
that's rough.
Me and Dabby Doo are gonna kill him next time we see him.
That's rough.
That's like Dabby Doo's like favorite movie of all time, which pisses me off because I fucking love RoboCop and it's in my top 5. And I now any RoboCop like vintage gifts that they get for anybody for Christmas always go to Dabby Doo and not me. Fuck that.
Yeah. But anyway, The Sacrament. So I thought it was a decent. The problems that I have with the film are with the way that it was shot. I guess it was shot way too well to be like a found footage in some areas, and even like I don't know. Jared expressed some of this during the film as well, but they always seem to like get like the perfect shot in it.
And it's just like yeah, like that the big spoiler alert here.
Yeah, spoilers for all of this. And then,
During the big fucking mass suicide at the end, like the camera's just jumping around like fucking crazy. Like the girl that's filming it must know instant transmission.
yeah,
That
you'd
she's
have
just
to
like
assume.
fucking hopping around this place.
I feel like that's all justifiable, like what you guys just said completely. I feel like from like the filmmaker's standpoint,
She's great.
he wanted to show.
She's
well,
a better
talking about-
director than Ty West.
I'm talking about from the actual, the real directors. I feel like he really wanted to get those scenes to like the kids drinking the poison, things like that, for the shock value, but for also because like this is what has happened. Like
It really
like,
just seems
kids-
like there were parts where he literally just forgot that they were making.
Well,
a found footage
because
movie.
even early on, when like before the second camera was even introduced, because there is a second camera that's introduced about midway through.
I just have a. Sorry, go ahead.
But I was gonna say, even when they're in the hospital scene, it was like doing cuts in between the conversation, but the conversation was continuous, but the camera angles weren't.
Right,
you
so
know what
it's
I mean?
edited.
Yeah.
But still, it's just shot in a way when they're committing the mass suicide or whatever. It's just shot in the way that, like, suddenly it just felt like I was watching a real movie as opposed to a found footage movie.
Right.
And it was like, if you really sit here and think about it, you have these people that work for Vice and are supposed to be from professional, like, filmmakers and stuff like that. They make documentaries and everything. But then when the fucking stupid cult girl picks up the camera, suddenly she works for National Geographic. And she's just, like, shooting better than anyone has shot in the entire fucking movie.
Right.
I think a lot of that was, like I said, that he just was, like, not backed into
Until
it at
the
all, but
end.
he was kind of like, I will really want to get these shots in, so I'm going to have to suspend disbelief. You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't suspend my disbelief. It took
doesn't-
me out. It took me right out of it. I was just like,
nothing suspends your disbelif, though.
bullshit. I
Being
fucking
honest, I mean,
no. I watched fucking goddamn. What was the name of that goddamn movie again?
Which one? The one we just watched?
No.
The Host?
Host.
Yeah.
Host. I was fucking into that all the way through and never suspended my disbelief. I know you haven't seen it yet, Miles, even though it would take you 1/3 of Monday Night Raw to watch that movie.
Exactly.
You could skip that last hour of Raw one night.
oh, I mean, I just fall asleep during it now, so.
Well, skip the first hour then, or skip the second hour. You could get that first hour and see, like, the setup for the rest of the episode and already realize, like, man, it doesn't sound like they're promoting anything good for this episode, just like they have for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to watch Host for that second
Watch
hour.
Host, yeah.
Instead of watching Street Profits versus Miz and John Morrison.
Well, Street Profits aren't on Raw, but I know what you mean.
Whatever. New Day versus Miz and John Morrison again.
I almost forgot what film we're reviewing.
We're
We got so
reviewing
far
The
off
Sacrament,
topic.
yeah.
Yeah, I know,
That's
right?
This is how you stretch podcasts out. I know you guys don't know the little buddy knows the technique, and I know Miles, you don't know the technique to.
Yeah, I don't know the tech.
Okay, you got to get the podcast stretched out so you get the ad breaks like this one right here.
All right, and we're back. But yeah, and then I guess so, like, one last thing I want to mention about my critiques, because everything else about the film I kind of liked, but I don't know if this is a plot hole or they just don't really address it, but we have to assume that after they fled the scene, they would have had to have gone back to the site because they did leave that second camera there.
Yeah, they definitely
that was
go
still
back.
recording.
I just assumed that immediately that they
definitely,
went
yeah.
back and got the second camera.
But yeah. But I mean, besides the way that it was shot, and the acting could be a little hokey a little bit here and there, which kind of takes you out of it.
The one guy, the girl's brother.
Was the worst actor.
Yeah,
probably
he
the
was
whole
awful.
film, yeah.
But you're missing a giant plot hole here, buddy, and I think that they did it on purpose just to piss me off. Like, Ty West was like, I'm really...
Oh, how they kept running past all the guns?
Yeah, this cat ran past like 2 guns that I counted.
At least.
If you counted
I think
more.
there were just the two.
Two
I was
guns
trying to
and a
pay
knife that this cat ran past. And just like fucking... I don't know, man. I don't know. This cat literally watched a dude shoot himself in the fucking head. And he was like, hey, I'm going to keep filming. But you know what I'm not going to do? Is grab a gun to protect
Defend myself,
Or
yeah.
even have my fucking partner in crime over here grab this fucking Magnum, and I'll just film him fucking sniping people. Or even tell him, like, hey, buddy.
One of them is the imposter, by the way. You can tell by the giggling.
I'd be like this, hey, brother, check this out. I've just freed you from this fucking handcuffs or whatever this guy had him in. There was a fucking AK-47 laying on the ground over there. I couldn't pick it up because I was still filming. And then the other guy would just look at it and be like, what the fuck is the matter with you? And then you'd be like, no, people need to see this, okay? And they need to see that my film technique is way worse than the fucking whatever her name was. I bet you when he was
or whatever.
Caroline, when he was going through like editing the footage, or he probably wasn't the editor. The editor of the footage was probably just laughing his ass off. He was like, fuck, why do we hire these people when fucking Caroline, who's obviously worked at National Geographic or BBC or something,
Is better than the two videographers who were hired to...
He was probably watching the footage of her setting herself on fire, and he's like, no, bring her back. We need her here at Vice. She was wonderful. as a filmmaker.
She wasn't. Her acting was fine too.
No, I'm not. I'm saying her character was a wonderful filmmaker, a terrible human being,
Wasted talent.
but she had a talent for that camera.
Smiles, you've been a little quiet here.
Just taking it all in.
So as the Ty West expert and the Sacrament expert, I mean, you brought this film to the table.
This is why they bring us in. I mean, I just think, okay, so at the time, like most of the found footage films that were out were not. They're all supernatural. Whether it's vampires, ghosts, demons.
Not Willow Creek came out similar time.
Okay, well, that one of 200 films. Yeah, all right, I'll give it to you. But this just had, like, despite what, I see, obviously, I mean, I watched the same film. I can see what you guys are talking about with some of the critiques. But suspending my disbelief, this still felt more real at the time than a lot of the found footage that was out. I'm not talking about the way it was shot, but it was very, like, this has happened before in the past. Like, this type of story. Like, people, literally cults, have drank the Kool-Aid, which everyone knows that expression, and have died. So it's like one of those things where he's like, it is a horror film, but it's almost like how they used to talk about like a world film, like a Mondo film, like Faces of Death, or something that's like, it's almost meant to be played off as like something that actually happened.
Right, yeah.
Which was like very different than the found footage films that were out at the time. And I still, because we probably all watched a ton of found footage back then, especially from the like probably 2008.
Back then, me just in the last month.
Well, that's also why I was like, oh, Jared should watch this, because he's been watching a lot of found footage, brushing up on a bunch of stuff, seeing new stuff. But it was just different. It was just different than anything that had come out. And obviously, I already liked his other films, because I have expectations.
Right.
From him. And this was also obviously touted to be a different film for him, which obviously we watched The Innkeeper earlier when we were doing
Innkeepers,
these
yeah,
Innkeepers,
and we've all also seen House of the Devil.
House
You
of
just
the Devil.
watched House of the Devil.
So that,
recently.
obviously this is very different than some of his other stuff.
Right.
So I was very excited when this was going to come out to be like, okay, I want to see. And the trailers, I remember the trailers specifically for this film were like really good. Like the way they had them edited and the way that like things, I was like, oh, I really want to see this when it came out.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, as I said, like besides like the actual like filmmaking part of it, I don't really have any critiques. Like I liked the story. The characters were a little dumb, but you sort of like buy into it.
A little dumb.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean.
I feel like the characters at times were like, do I want to buy into this as like, this place is super fucked up. I do think this guy, AJ Bowen's character, I thought he was very believable, because he starts like from right away. He's just like once they get the note, like please help me. He's like all of a sudden he kind of like flips trigger and he's like, okay, like I need to pay attention to everything. Like things are fucked up. Like we need to figure out what's going on here, and like we just have to survive. The best thing about this was there was like, okay, we only have to be here for 24 hours. So like that was a solid enough thing. Like, can we just get to the morning and we'll get the helicopter, take the footage, go home, and we'll blow this place wide open once we get home. Once we're back to civilization, we have to worry about guys with AKs and, whatever the fuck.
Well, the problem with him is that he is the only character that seems to make sense, and he's also like not included in like 90% of the last act of the movie.
That's true. That is true.
They're like, this guy's too smart. We need to take him out of the last act of this
Otherwise,
movie.
it won't make any sense.
He might grab a fucking gun.
Yeah.
I will say.
Which, by the way, he still never. He actually didn't when presented with the opportunity.
He did throw that woman's dead body on top of him to hide when the guy was coming.
It's true. He also could have grabbed a fucking revolver from the goddamn father's hands,
right?
And
I feel like
literally blown that fucking AK-47 guy's like head away. Like
that would have been nice.
It would have looked cooler than the headshot that he received, which was like probably just like a semi-automatic fucking assault rifle that fucking went in one end and went out the other, and he just went down. If he was shot with the rifle, we might have got a good head explosion there. Not with the rifle, but with the revolver.
Right.
So I don't know if Ty West thought about that or not would have been cooler. Maybe a little more satisfactory. But they did allude to this guy having second thoughts before. The guy that ended up...
that saved them, yeah. Like, they made sure that he was, like...
They should have just gave him a better gun. That was the thing. Give him a shotgun.
Yeah.
So that he could roll up. I think that... Here's my big thing. Because I liked the movie. I liked the story. But... I do think that it could have been better because of the way that it didn't suspend my disbelief at the end, where you could have used a little bit of a rawer film technique. Like you still could have got everybody fucking drinking Kool-Aid and dying.
If she would have
just like crazy panning shots.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If they would have probably just added any kind of movement, like she was like walking by, like slowly walking by, and it was just going across people. He really wanted, I guess, I'm just going to keep saying for shock value, there were scenes where it was like a 4-year-old kid.
Right, but you still could have got that.
Oh, I know. No, but I'm saying like...
It just made it super cinematic.
Because he wanted it, too many still shots. Everything was like still like, I'm like watching you do this fucked up act. I'm watching you do this fucked up act.
Which, I mean, I guess it makes sense because the girl who's filming it...
worked in National Geographic.
Well, I'm saying like she's aware of what's going on, so she's like very calm and collected.
She
so like
worked
there
for
wasn't
the Discovery Channel,
like a lot of swooping like camera stuff. Like if it was one of the guys actually
she still
hired
could
to
have
do
just been
it.
walking around and like, you know, like he said, like as opposed to like what I just said, where it's like, you know what I mean? But like walking along a line, and if you want to get a kid fucking drinking the fucking Kool-Aid, then just say, hey, I'm the director, Ty West. I'm going to put this fucking 4-year-old right here on this side of the aisle so that when she's walking by, it's going to see a 4-year-old drinking the Kool-Aid. And then maybe, did we even see 4-year-olds like convulsing or anything on the ground?
There were a couple on like,
yeah.
I mean, you just could have placed that shit anywhere and made her film it in a more realistic way. So that kind of fucked up my suspension of disbelief, and then just how absolutely stupid the fucking main characters were. That like fucked me up too.
So besides the grabbing of the guns that they did not do, I really did not think the characters were as bad as most characters in most horror films or most like, even found footage films, because how many think about a film like The Gallows, which is one of the worst films I've ever watched.
I haven't seen that.
I watched that in Erie. I went to Erie. I remember Dan and Joel were like, Joel's like, oh, it's going to be great. We went, and it was one of the worst things with the worst. Even we went and shot pool after, and we all looked at each other like, that was one of the worst things we've watched in a long time. I was like, yeah, that was really bad. Like,
well, them saying that doesn't shock me, but, you know,
when I see something that's like all around from start to finish, it's just like a turd. I mean, I'm gonna let you know. But
I just don't see how them not like picking up guns doesn't make them just as equally as stupid as any other movie where Laurie Strode doesn't keep the fucking knife after she stabbed Michael Myers. I'm saying it's definitely a horror movie trope, but if you want this shit to fucking hit hard, like something about a movie about mass fucking suicide should, then like maybe you should not have the fucking tropes. And it's not a thing where it was like, oh, it kind of slipped Ty West's mind. No. He purposely filmed this guy passing guns on purpose to just be like, okay, this is definitely fucking phony because he just saw an assault rifle there, and instead of picking that up, he's like, it's more important for me to hold my stupid fucking camera and film a bunch of bodies that are already dead.
There are, and when I think about situations like this, there are some people that literally don't want to shoot people. Like men, even in like dumb situations where they should kill people.
We're talking about the guy that said, "No, we're not bringing the fucking 7-year-old girl back with us. Are you crazy?" The selfish character. Yeah. The character that was showing selfish tendencies earlier in the movie is the guy that's going to say, I don't want to shoot anybody.
He went back for his bro, though, so it's like true fucking, true bro at the end.
Yeah, it was a good friendship moment, yeah. But, I don't know. I mean, we all liked the film. I think we can all acknowledge there were some some interesting things about it. Maybe
I
not
liked it.
Miles.
I gave it 3.5. That's a really good score for me.
That is
Yeah.
good.
It was
And
very
you're-
entertaining.
And you're the found footage expert in recent years, so that's a resounding score from you.
The thing is, with this film, is
You got something to say?
once it starts, it never really that's really well paced. You have to admit that the story pacing is
No,
great.
the pacing was good.
Like you don't ever
Yeah.
like they just keep moving along. Not at like a rap, but it's like this. Like it's not like they got to the village. They spent maybe 7-8 minutes interviewing some people, who like they all interacted with later, things like that. So you got to feel for the few characters they wanted you to get a feel for. The nurse, those basketball players, things like that. They needed to show those things so you could be like, oh, maybe this place isn't so bad. Maybe these people really did get away from maybe the horrible lives they had, and even them are like, oh, this seems all right, you know. And then they go to the meeting with the father, and they're like, oh, this is fucking
Right.
it's getting some real. Is this every night? Like they have weird religious ceremonies 5 to 7 days a week, like doing this shit. Like this is a little weird. And then obviously father like dodging conversations, things like that. I think the guy that did father, he was super believable. Like I believe that was that guy. I still, when I watched it the first time and this time, I like the guy's acting. Like he was just a total.
Oh, he's good. He's on
Yeah.
the cover of the fucking movie, right?
He was on the DVD menu.
No, okay. He's on the DVD menu.
And he's
yeah.
on, when you rate it on Letterboxd, he's on the
the
main poster, yeah.
Yeah, they had
Yeah, he
they
was
had a
good.
couple
He was
posters
good.
for this.
He had fucking Mazer Laser drinking his tea.
Yeah, she was really
She
buying
was, like,
into some of
nodding-
the stuff
She's
he's
nodding
saying.
along with the stuff he's saying. I was
she's
like,
like-
"You are fine.
he's
I'm never taking you to a religious gathering ever. You're gonna."
Well, the
He said-
second he takes out the Kool-Aid, I'm like, okay, shut the fuck up. Like,
You like the problem with that is that as I'm hearing him talk, I can hear that he's full of bullshit.
Yeah, and he's manipulative and stuff.
Yeah, he's like I'm
Mazer
gonna say
Laser
to-
hears socialism. She's like, hell yeah.
She's like, capitalism is
Anti-
bad. She's like, whoa,
Anti-racism.
whoa, I'm with him.
It's good. Anti-racism, no sex.
Yeah, that was about the only
He did-
cool thing he said.
yeah, he didn't say anything about being homophobia. That's very true.
That way, he's very into Christianity and God, so we can assume he dislikes the homosexuals.
Is he though? He seems by the end of the movie, he seems like a guy who read a Bible while he was doing coke.
That's true.
He
Yeah.
did do a bunch of coke before he blew his brains out. So at least
Right,
he's-
so it's kind of revealed at the end of the movie because this is supposed to be like a commune for people recovering drug addicts and alcoholics and stuff. But in reality, they weren't recovered. They were still doing drugs because even Caroline was doing drugs with
that's
him.
that's what. Yeah, like the filmmakers are like, Caroline seemed pretty high. 'Cause she like almost fell over and was
Yeah.
jittery
Right.
before she went.
But is that how you act on coke? Maybe she was doing something
No,
else.
I think she was. They said like
Pills,
Yeah,
maybe.
hers was something else.
Because I think he had pill bottles behind him too.
He did, yeah. Like then there was like other syringes too. Like fucking probably that dude probably had like. Think about where they were. They probably were like those fucking dudes with the guns. Like he's probably like, take this money and go to the black market and get all these drugs so I can fuck all these young women. You know what I mean? Just like any cult leader, like, hey, how many like 20-something-year-olds can I convince to do
Right, because
something
it's
fucked up?
insinuated that he's fucking Caroline.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
He's like, I need you to come here and help me with something, and then she just goes in and they shut the lights off. Like,
Yeah. But yeah, it's clear that
And
he's
she
full
comes
of
out high
bullshit.
as a kite.
Yeah. But yeah.
it's good. He's supposed to be Ty West. This was actually his last film that wasn't a VHS short for like the VHS series. So he finally shot something else. I think he did some like Game of Thrones episodes though, when he was doing a bunch of TV and stuff like that.
Oh, everybody that listens to Two Nerds a Podcast knows me and Buddy are huge fans.
Yeah, Game of Thrones,
Game of
one of
Thrones.
our we've reviewed every episode. So, in depth.
We've brought Ricky on to help guest review them.
Yeah.
I heard that show had a terrible last season.
I actually did
yeah,
watch the finale because
everyone
we went
hates
to
the
the
last
we went to
season.
the fucking arcade bar and I was trying to play Burger Time, get all this shit going on. It was the fucking Game of Thrones finale. They turned off all the fucking games.
Wow.
Fucking everyone's watching HBO and I'm just like, this is the worst night of my life.
I would have been so pissed.
And there was probably like a Pepsi in the background shot or something.
The Starbucks cup, yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
No, it was so bad that like fans were like demanding.
Oh yeah,
that
everyone
they
I know,
reshoot the last
yeah,
season,
everyone
yeah.
everyone hates the last season of Game of Thrones. Like anyone I've ever met that talks about it.
One bad season though, it's better than like Dexter went like 3 bad seasons until it went down, right?
Something like that. I didn't watch.
But
Dexter.
but it doesn't sound like those seasons were as horrible as that one season of Game of Thrones.
Well, that's why I'm like, man, I wish I watched the show so I could just at least understand. Is it really that bad? Like, is it really the worst thing anyone's ever seen?
Yeah, I don't know.
But the Sacrament wasn't the worst thing we've ever seen.
No, we've seen far worse. Yeah. Any other
Willow Creek.
any other thoughts on the Sacrament, or is it time to ride off into the sunset on this one?
Final thoughts. It's still held up well because I haven't seen it in years.
It's been fucking 7 years. Come on now.
You know how much shit I've seen in 7 years? You know how much things that I've watched?
Okay, but I'm saying that like it's not like it's gonna be like 7 years is not enough time for a film to just like be like, wow, that didn't age good.
I'm not talking about aging.
Maybe
but
Borat.
But like you watch something and you're like, this is pretty decent.
Maybe something that was shot in 2000 didn't age that well by 2002 when they're like, oh wow, there's the Twin Towers in the background.
Jesus Christ.
By the way, we watched Survivor Series the other day, and not Survivor, SummerSlam, and there's SummerSlam 1989, and there's a match between Demolition and the Twin Towers, and a person was holding a sign in the crowd that said Demolition will topple the Twin Towers, and on the sign it didn't have a picture of Big Boss Man and Akeem. I think they were the Twin Towers. It had a picture of the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center, on the sign, and I was just like, whoa, that's
things that don't age well.
That's fucking weird.
Well,
and could you have picked a better tag team name, by the way, too? Is Demolition will topple the Twin Towers. True. At least it didn't say the Taliban will topple the Twin Towers or George Bush. But that's a discussion for the next episode of Two Nerds a Podcast. Is that coming out after this?
I don't know which will come out first, but
Well, this better come out first because
we'll see.
I've already framed
Hey, but
it like
if
that.
not, but if people don't listen to Tuners and they're listening to this for some reason, they
You
can
can go back in the catalog.
Yeah.
Great episode about conspiracy theories coming up, featuring
I guess Midnight Miles is gonna come spew some knowledge on it.
the resident conspiracy theory expert.
Yeah.
That's my new title. Honestly, I didn't know, but that's on my podcast resume now.
So make sure you bring your tinfoil caps and your metal detectors.
Alex Jones is gonna pop in for a nice
Alex Jones is calling into the show.
personal friend of mine. Yeah, he's gonna pop on real quick.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess that's about it for this time. Let us know what underrated films we should check out in the future. Next episode, it's my turn to pick some films.
It is your turn. I almost was gonna say more on the Sacrament, but I'm just gonna say if you haven't seen it, watch it because it's a good time. So
Yeah,
It is fun.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it. We'll see you in the next one. So
It's fun. It was a fun
It's
movie.
fun.
It's a fun movie.
Fun.
It was fun as a movie about
I was gonna
children
say fun.
committing suicide.
Is fun
As you
really
can
the
get,
right
yeah.
term?
Well, listen, I mean, my suspension of disbelief was totally shot by the time they were killing themselves, so I was having fun with it. Yeah.
Well, that's what cinema's supposed to do, right?
No,
you're.
it's not supposed to shoot my suspension of
No,
disbelief.
it's supposed to be fun.
It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, I think so.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
I don't know how many people had fun watching Citizen Kane.